Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of Behind the Lens. Today I'm joined by the very talented Anne-Marie Clark.
Hi.
Thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah.
I really appreciate it.
Yeah, so this is actually the first time we're meeting.
Yes.
Literally today, like 10 minutes ago.
Right.
But we met through Nikki Boutte,
Yes.
who was on one of the episodes earlier. So
Yes.
really grateful. She's actually off camera.
Yes.
Hey, Nikki.
Shout out for her for the alley-oop.
Yeah, absolutely. But no, thank you again for being here. Diving right into it, honestly, you're an amazing photographer, super
you.
talented, very versatile in just your style and the work that you create. So I just wanted to, for the people back at home, for you to just share a little bit about your story and how you got started as a photographer.
I didn't realize I had a talent for it until my sophomore year at UNLV. I was working at a radio station, and this was the time when MySpace was more popular. In Facebook, you can only have one picture, and it was only for college students. So we would go out on remotes and have events, and we would have artists come, and so I had the little Sony camera, and I was just always getting all the good behind the scenes. And I had some of DJ friends in. I had some of Jeezy. It was so many artists that came through, and I gave some to the marketing guy, and he was like, you have an eye for photography, but I wanted to be a journalist. I wanted to be a sports anchor or a news announcer, so I was focused on that. And I just always would play with cameras and just try it out.
Would you say that music was kind of a passion of yours and it made it easier for you to kind of just maneuver a camera and be like, oh, these are amazing artists that I would pay to go see them anyway, but now I get to photograph them. Is that something that helped in your development?
Yeah, absolutely. And it was always good environment, good energy, and I would just go in their environment and just capture the moment. That was it.
So earlier on, were you going to studio sessions and stuff like that, or
no? It was more so on-air interviews.
Gotcha.
Like that.
And then you were just sort of doing kind of behind the scenes
Right,
photography.
right.
How would you ever feel when you say your first time that you were shooting that? How did you maneuver yourself around the room and make sure you were getting the right angles? How did you learn this angle works, this angle doesn't? I
just saw what was on the camera. I was like, okay, this doesn't look good. I can't see their face or whatever. I know with artists, they're very, they love their jewelry and they want to show their bling and all that stuff. So, at that time, everyone was posting all that. So I was like, okay, let me make sure I get the ice. Let me make sure I get the shoes, let me get the look. And then I would, present it to them. They were like, oh my gosh, this is perfect.
You're in college, you're at UNLV, studying journalism, communications, is that?
Journalism.
So at what point did you realize hey, okay, photography might be something that I want to do as a career path?
So it wasn't. I had my heart set on being a news anchor or a sports announcer. And then I became a mom. So I was just a mom, and I was always taking pictures of my son. And I would send them to my family members, and they were always like, oh my gosh, this is so cute. I kind of, I see how a lot of parents, they'll pose their baby in 6 months and then 7 months, 8 months. I was kind of doing that before. And my family was like, oh my God, that's a cute concept. You should do it. And I was just like, no, I was sitting on my talents. And it wasn't until I was working, regular dead-end jobs. And I just was I wasn't feeling fulfilled. I want to be passionate about what I'm working on. And the best thing was to create. And I knew that I did have a talent with it. So I ended up purchasing a camera the Canon T6, the Rebel T6, one day. And I was just you know what? Let me set my intentions. If it's meant for me to do this, then I will. And then literally maybe 2 days later, my friend invited me to an event, a dinner party, and it was a lot of celebrities and affluent people. And from there, she gave me photography credit, and from there it was oh, okay.
It kind of just popped.
Popped.
Following up with that first event that you were shooting, obviously you said there was a lot of celebrities there and people, and just being your first event that you're shooting, how did you sort of navigate this space? How were you all right, these people are here to have a good time, but I'm not trying to maybe invade them. So how did you go about tiptoeing that? Because it's a very fine line. You don't want to be in their face. So how did you go about doing that?
I'm a talkative person anyway, and I'll just go and say, oh hi, you look beautiful, and just make a conversation. And most of the time, honestly, I feel when you have a camera, people want their picture taken. So usually they'll kind of like come to you and, you know, smile, or, you know, you could see them being real posy. So I was just like, okay. So I just, you know, I spoke to everybody, just maneuvered my way. They knew obviously I had the camera, so they're like assuming, okay, she must be hired to take pictures, but I wasn't. I was just a guest. But it ended up working out, and I sent my friend the pictures, and like I said, she tagged me, and then other people from the event had hit me up like, hey, do you have any more pictures? And I would send them the pictures, and then they all started tagging me, and from there was like, okay, I'm a photographer now.
Yeah, no doubt. And that's interesting, because I know definitely for me, I get the majority of my work through Instagram.
Yeah.
Like my feed is just like all my work. Like I show a little bit of my personal life, but not too much, because I don't really care. And people, I don't know if people actually care about me that much. But yeah, I just like to show off a lot of my work. So is that sort of a philosophy you've kind of taken in with your Instagram? And is it also like one of the main ways that you go about getting work?
Yeah, Instagram is the main way I do get work. A lot of times it is referral. Like someone will call me and say, hey, you know, my friend had a shot with you, blah, blah, blah. But yes, Instagram is. And I was very like personable on my Instagram. Like I showed everything. Like I'm at dinner, my food, all of that. But now that photography has kind of like taken over, I am, you know, more showcasing my work now.
One question that I always like to ask like my photographer guests are, for me, so just a little context, like I was raised by a single mother, like Latina. She literally grew up like in a box in Mexico and came over here and like just like was very set on like obviously giving her child a better life, and just, you know, the traditional corporate America 9 to 5. So I graduated from college in 2015, and after that I was like a high school teacher for 2 years, and I was like, you know what, like I don't really want an office job. Like I was making videos on the side, and I was like, I really want to be a videographer. And she's always been supportive, but there was like a part of her where it was like, oh man, like what is this kid doing, right? Until like recently, even like she really like started understanding what it is I do, and now she gets it. But what was that experience for you? Like, was it any, especially being a mom too? Because I think you have to like freelance work is just so like up and down, especially right now with coronavirus. Like, how is it first like saying, like telling your family like, hey, this is what I'm gonna do, and then how do you sort of find that balance of like getting that income in a freelance career that isn't always necessarily steady? So
I didn't tell my family. I just kind of did it, because when I purchased the camera, I was like, okay, this was me setting up my intentions for whatever's going to happen. I didn't really know what the road was going to look like for like what would be success for me, but I knew that I was passionate, and I knew that I wanted to do this. So my brother, he's a professional dunker. He had hit me and was like, hey, I want to do some shots. So I did some shots with him, and he loved it. He was happy. And he told me, he was like, man, like I'm proud of you. Like I see you working. And, you know, I just kind of was like, that's what was satisfying for me. It was like, okay, I did it. Now you see the work, you know. I know it's scary because it's like, you know, it's up and down, and it's technically, you know, well, not technically, but it's like work isn't consistent like a 9 to 5. So I don't know, you just have to just grind, you know. People will hit you up. So
I want to talk a little bit about how you got your first like paid gig. I don't know if it was at your friend's.
Yeah.
Was it your friend's?
Yeah.
Okay, so let's say after that, like what was the first like gig that you got from like a random that you had no idea that they knew about you, and just how you went about like charging. We don't need to talk specific numbers, but like how did you come up with a rate? Because I remember the first time I shot, I was like, I don't know, just like whatever. Yeah. So how did you like navigate that space?
Someone hit me up on Instagram to do a wedding. I have never done a wedding ever in my life.
I stay away from them. They seem so stressful.
It was so stressful. And I had one of my friends, he's a photographer too. I had him come because I know that usually it's 2 or 3 photographers there. So we did the wedding, and I think I charged her something like real small. I was like, yeah, 800. And she was like, really? Like, oh, that's great. Like, yeah, I need you for this and this and this and this. And, but I was grateful for the experience because, you know, it made me want to do it even more because I've never done it. And I was kind of intimidated by it because I was like, am I good enough to take wedding photos? You know, has everything that I've done before, has that just been like luck, or, you know, is this something that I'm really good at? And we did the wedding, and I was kind of uneasy about the pictures. It was more that I did not like than I did like. but I sent them to her anyway. And she called me crying. And she was like, thank you so much. Because I was getting on the floor. I was like in between, like, you know, saying hi to her family and everything. So I just was like, okay, that was my first time doing that. Okay, let me learn to maneuver in these type of spaces because it helps me every time.
You talked about sort of like this feeling of like, oh, I'm not good enough, really. Like sometimes it's really easy, especially now with like Instagram, to compare yourself to other photographers. I go through it like all daily probably, but you know, you just have to remind yourself that like,
you're dope.
Yeah, exactly. So just tell me about how you go about that.
Most of the time with me is like, I'm fans of other photographers and other creatives because it's like, you know, everyone's different and everyone views things differently. So I know that these are my set of eyes and this is how I view it. And, you know, I just capture it and it's going to resonate with who it needs to. And if not, you know, that's okay too. So
yeah, absolutely. And I think something important just for anyone watching back at home, I think whenever you get hired by someone, like they're hiring because they liked what they saw of you, right? So it's really easy still to compare yourself to it, but it's like that reminder of like they liked what they saw. And this is what I'm going to do for them. So that's like the mindset you got to have to go into, right? So I also wanted to ask you about creative block, and if you ever go through periods where it's like, dang, I just don't really want to be doing this shoot right now, but you know, rent's coming up, whatever's coming up. I've been there. Like, how do you go about just overcoming that creative block and just getting yourself to have that energy?
How I look at it as like, I'd rather do this than work a 9 to 5, work the last 9 to 5 that I had. I abhorred that job. I'm talking to people and sometimes there's food and good energy, and you know, most of the time when I do feel like that, when I get to wherever I'm shooting, set, event, whatever, I end up like having a great time anyway. So most of the time it's just kind of like, just get up, get yourself up. And then once I'm up, I'm like, okay, let's just go. Let's go have fun.
Do you feel like you had a moment that was kind of like your break where it's like, oh dang, like this person wants me to shoot, like, and how that was for you and how it changed your career? Shooting
D Smoke. So I met him on a video set. He did a song with 211. And so in between shooting, I was capturing stills. And we just started talking. He's super nice. So I knew he went to UCLA with my brother. He knows a lot of like my core friends. And then he was a teacher at the same high school I was the track coach at the same time, and we never crossed paths. His manager, she was like, you know, you did today was great. Like you had amazing energy, and he likes working with like young creatives and all that. So she's like, I'm definitely gonna like keep your information. So I was like, okay, like cool. And I didn't think he would. And so I sent him the pictures. He loved it. He hit me back and he's like, what's your Instagram so I can properly tag you? And he posted the picture, tagged me, and then a lot of my friends and family like were real excited. Like they were like even reposting the picture, and I was just grateful. Like I was just grateful he even posted it. And then he had hit me up after he had a creative writing session, and I got to work that with him, and it was real dope. And like every time he posts, he has a large following, so a lot of my friends, like everyone gets real excited for him. Yeah, so
that's so cool to see, especially like when your friends get to see like, oh, I listened to this person, and it's like, oh my God, this is my friend. Like she's out there killing it. So I just wanted to round out the first half of the interview, and I just wanted to see your goals. Like what is your dream client, or where do you want to get with photography? Like walk me through that.
I mean, I definitely want to get into videos. I do want to, wherever it will take me, honestly. Like, I didn't even think that I was going to get this far, or shoot the amazing people that I have shot, or gone to the places that I have been. So I'm just grateful for that. It's like a we'll see. You know, I feel like, honestly, I'm barely getting my feet wet. I'm still learning. And I'm just enjoying the process, really.
Absolutely. Awesome. Well, thank you so much for that. Now we have 5 amazing photos that you've taken that we're going to go over now.
Okay.
You have some amazing photo. Just in general, your work is incredible. So I'm excited to have everyone see it and learn from it. So I wanted to start with the first photo that you brought, and it's quarterback Troy Williams. So walk me through this photo, and it seems like it's a training session, if that's correct? Yeah, so tell me a little bit about it.
So I was actually invited by his trainer He's a family friend. He trained my youngest brother. And this was during quarantine, so the guys were still working out. And, you know, he was like, hey, can you come out? You know, some of the guys want pictures, just still showing that they're working out, you know. And I went out there and I caught that shot, and it was just so clean. I was just like, man, he looked like, you know, it was like an in-game type of picture. And yeah, it was just, I like that.
Something that's interesting, I think, for a lot of creatives just in general, and photographers, videographers, when we do a lot of, you know, one segment or one industry, people like to label us as, oh, she's the music photographer, he's the event videographer, whatever. Like, it's almost like you can't do anything else. So how do you, you know, transcend that and just try to be like, or just be able to shoot multiple things and not let people stop you from shooting what you want to shoot?
Because I don't.
Yeah.
So same thing like I was saying with the wedding. You know, she had asked me, I've never done a wedding before. And I was just like, well, I'm going to learn today, you know. So just diving in and just doing it, what's the harm in that? Moving
on to photo number 2, we have D-Smoke, and it seems like it's a studio session.
Yes.
So a couple of things I wanted to pick apart here. I know you spoke about it a little bit in the first half, but just how that relationship with D-Smoke came about, and just what it's like working with him and interacting with him and just being, you know, in a studio session while he's creating.
Yeah, I connected with him on set, the video with 211, and you know, I came in with good energy, and he was, you know, especially working with creatives and artists, they, you know, you have to be mindful of like what energy you bring into their creative space. And I think with me was, you know, I came in, we were professional, we had a good time, like we got the shots that we needed. And with this particular picture was his creative writing. He had a creative writing camp. So we all kind of broke out into sessions. So he was recording a couple of songs at this camp. And it was real nice, like his team was there, his family was there. He even played some of his music that's gonna be on his new album, and it's bangers. Yeah. I have to always remember that I'm entering in their space. So I have to make sure my energy is good. And you know, you want them to be comfortable. Anybody you shoot, you want them to be comfortable so then you can get like, you know, a nice image. So just like I said, just going in, having great energy. And he works really hard. He's excited about his work. So that inspires me. So like I said, going into his space and, you know, just feeding off of everybody's energy. Everybody was like, has that same goal. Like we're trying to accomplish something. So once you like get into that chain, then it's like, okay, it flows.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's a really important takeaway just for anyone that's watching back at home, just being socially aware as a creative. I think it's kind of difficult to explain or to teach. I feel like it's definitely a feeling, but I don't know, like, are there any pointers that you can give someone who maybe might be nervous because they're shooting like their favorite artist or whatever, but just how to, you know, how to control their emotions and just keep it professional, what that really means?
I mean, just take away who it is. When you're shooting your friend, you know, you're having a good time, it's fun, and just take away, I guess, their title or their status and just talk to them as a real person, because they want that too, because they're dealing with a lot of people and a lot of energy that's not authentic. So when you come into their space and you're authentic, it's like they get comfortable and it's familiar. So that helps with hiring you back.
Speaking of, you know, shooting with celebrities and artists and entering their space, with photo number 3, we have Chris Martin.
Yes.
And in no less, I want you to tell the story, but in South Central Los Angeles.
Yes.
Like, Chris Martin is from like the UK,
yes,
right?
Yes.
And he's in South Central Los Angeles making like music. Yeah. So tell me just about that space, how you approached it, the energy wise, and just how that came about.
My friend Damon Turner, amazing rapper, artist, creative, community activist. Him and his team with Trap Hills, they invited Chris Martin to come down. I believe it was for Radar magazine, or I guess they did a piece on him, and or to showcase like his music and his activism and everything. He's good friends with Chris Martin, and he wanted Chris Martin to come in and create a trap beat with sound healing instruments. So that was an anomaly in itself, with having Chris Martin from Coldplay come to South Central Los Angeles to create trap music with sound healing instruments. So I got that picture. I thought it was so dope, posted it, and a lot of international magazines and I guess newspapers, like they DM me like, oh, you know, how do we spell your name, or can you spell your name correctly so we can give you photographer credit? And I just thought that was so dope. I'm like, okay, we're international now, you know, so.
Of course, yeah. Something that I've always found really interesting is, you know, when people are recording or artists are recording, the people that have to be there, like you're talking about like sound engineers and photographers such as yourself. So are you you're obviously on their schedule, right? Like if Chris Martin likes to make a song at 2 a.m., you have to be there at 2 a.m. because that's his schedule. So yeah, I just want to know like what that's like if you've ever come across, whether the Chris Martin situation or otherwise with another artist, like is there like, it's like midnight and it's like, dang, like I have to be there at midnight.
Yeah.
How does that go?
And it's last minute too. They'll tell you like 30 minutes, or they'll tell you like, hey, can you come? But now, and I'm just like, I mean, mostly because of COVID, I mean, I do have more free time. However, I do want to make time for myself. I do want at least 24 hours notice so I can, you know, be comfortable and all of that. But also too, I think that's the fun part about this, like where I feel like Superman, where it's like, okay, you know, you get the call and it's like, okay, go and, you know, go save the day and, you know, capture all these amazing images. So
yeah, of course. And I love this photo, just like the colors in it. It's
yeah.
like, you know, it seems like very moody.
Yes, I love
so
that.
just wanted to know like what's your like go-to setup when it comes camera wise, and just like when you're editing stuff like that, like how do you distinguish like, oh, this is a good photo and I don't want to select this one necessarily?
Right. Honestly, because it's times where I shoot and I'll really like a picture or I really like an image, and when I, you know, upload it on my computer, I'm like, I don't really like that so much. And just playing with like lights and colors, I mean, I still try to keep it with the essence of like where you can kind of feel like the mood, I guess, in the picture. Yeah, it just, honestly, every picture is different. It just depends on like what the mood was at that specific moment. Yeah. If that makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely. And I definitely feel like I'm there. Like he seems like in such of a moment of just like creative bliss.
Right.
And it's like, damn, I feel you, man. Like I know what that feels like.
And
so I love that.
Even doing, like even capturing and going around, I was just like, oh my God, like it was so beautiful because he was really, like he kind of just didn't care about everybody else. He was just like really like, okay, I'm gonna make this. Yeah. I'm gonna make this song and I'm gonna make it beautiful and I'm gonna pour into it. So that was like amazing.
Moving on to photos number 4 and 5, it's almost kind of a two-parter, but Nipsey Hussle, the late great Nipsey Hussle, LA icon and legend. Yes. I know that you and him and his camp just had a very close relationship and bond. So just would love to learn how you got connected with him and his camp, and how an opportunity to work with him came about.
So I met him, my son and his daughter went to kindergarten together. So I met him as Imani's dad. And we just got close because our kids were close. I got really close with his family. I got super close with his sister Samantha. And it was just, you know, they would invite us out. And it wasn't until, so I actually worked at Vector 90.
For those who don't know, Vector 90 is
Nipsey Hussle's co-working space in South Central Los Angeles. So obviously we're closed due to COVID because our purpose of being open is to connect with people. So yeah, his sister, you know, she was like, you know, you have a good personality, you're good with people. You know, my brother has this co-working space, so yeah, just start on Monday. So I'm like, okay, like, you know, okay. So I go on Monday and him, Nip, and Sam come in and they're like, yeah, Ann, like you're in here, like, you know, and I thank them for for giving me an opportunity. And Nip would always say, like, you know, it was a specific reason why he had people, it was a specific reason why he had certain people at certain positions. And I was just grateful that I had a seat, even though it was extended into his business. But I was just grateful to be in his presence. And he would come in there sporadically and we would always have, you know, we would always just chop it up. And he's an excellent leader. I mean, he had so many plans for the community. I was in meetings with him. So, you know, it's really sad that he's gone, but the impact that he left is amazing.
Yeah, no doubt. And tell me a little bit about this photo. I know it's right in front of Vector. So yeah, I just wanted to learn just, you know, this moment specifically.
So in this moment specifically, they were filming a documentary on how this co-working space came about with him and his partner, David Gross. So I remember that day, they had called me and they were like, hey, come to Vector. My shift was over, so he was like, come back to Vector and you can shoot. And he already had his team there, like all his guys there. And I knew them obviously. But he kept talking to me and he kept saying, he was like, Ann, like, are you good? Like, you need me to do anything? Or you need me to pose or anything? And I was just like, I was in their environment. So I'm like, just, okay, you do you. But I realized that he was doing a look for me. And every time we were out or any event or anything like that, just to show like how an amazing stand-up person he is, he knew that he doesn't necessarily need pictures from me, but he knew that it would help me, and he knew how I was getting into photography and all that. So when he said that, he was like, hey, and do you need me to do anything? And I was like, no, whatever, just do you. And he just stood there, and I just took pictures, and then he looked at me like, yeah, like, okay, yeah, that's what you need to do. Yeah. So yeah, I'm grateful.
That's an amazing moment. And was there a lasting impact that Nipsey sort of left on you creatively, whether that was work ethic or otherwise?
So he definitely did what he wanted to do. He didn't let anyone tell him that he can't do something. He did it anyway, and he did it how he wanted to do. So I think with learning or seeing him do that, like, I'm learning to be, just do what I do, and that's it.
Yeah, no, that's super important. I love that. Yeah, and I think that kind of ties back to what we were talking in the first half of the interview, just like comparing yourself to other people or stressing out about am I good enough. Like, I think it's a good reminder just to do what you want when you want when it comes to it, and everything usually turns out the way you want
exactly.
So yeah, always bet on yourself, I think is
always
super
bet
key.
on yourself.
Awesome. So moving on to the fifth and final photo here. It's the day they ordained the Nipsey Hussle Square on Slauson and Crenshaw.
Yes.
So yeah, take me through when that was and what it was like just being there.
Yeah, so this was the day after his funeral. It was very emotional. I spoke on behalf of Vector 90, obviously for Ye. I was in agreement with them naming it Nipsey Hussle Square. This was the moment when Marquise Harris Dawson was basically, they were ordaining, they were putting into concrete that we're going to name Crenshaw and Slauson Nipsey Hussle Square, and just going through all of his accomplishments that he was doing within the community in just this little time. And I just, when his dad, when Pops lifted up the plaque, it was just kind of like the photographer in me was like, oh my gosh, this is such an amazing picture. It's like a victory. It kind of was like a championship winning, moment. But the person inside, even the photographer, still was just so, it was still sad because he's not here, to experience it. And then, you can see his family like trying to put on, trying to be strong and trying to have, look at it as a positive. And then literally right after that, we went and buried him at his final resting place. So that day was just very emotional, but that was like such a great moment. I can feel all the emotions in this picture from that day. So
yeah, absolutely. And I mean, obviously you have a close relationship with just everyone in his group and his family and with him. So I think that is a testament just to you as a creative being able to build relationships and the importance of, you don't have to be friends with everyone that you shoot, but just like you said, making them comfortable and having some sort of rapport with them. So if you could just talk a little bit about that when it comes to, when you're trying to capture a subject or working with a group of people, like why is it important to just have some sort of established connection at the minimum when working with someone? I
feel like you being the photographer, they need you, and not everybody's gonna like you, not everyone's gonna be nice. I mean, I've shot some people who are celebrities, and they're not so nice people sometimes, you know. But I'm there to do a job, and that's it. So it's kind of like, you know, the bonus is, hey, like we're cool, we're chummy. But that's not necessarily why you're there. You're there for a specific reason, take their pictures and then leave, you know. But you as a photographer have to have a good attitude. You know, if they're having a bad attitude or a bad day, it doesn't help with you going in there with a bad attitude either. So you kind of have to check yourself and be like, you know what, don't take it personal. They're going through whatever they're going through. And that's I feel like that's with everybody.
Yeah, that was it. You made it. Those are your 5
it.
photos. Thank you so much again. I feel
Thank
like
you.
just your knowledge and experience is very valuable, and just, you know, the people that you've been able to work with and connect with just on a human level.
Yeah.
Is just a testament of who you are as a
Yeah.
person and creative.
Thank
So
you.
thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having me.
The last thing before we let you go, either this camera or this
Okay.
camera, if you just want to let people know how they can find you.
Okay.
If they want to give you work, what's the best way to get a hold of you?
Okay, so the best way to reach out to me right now is just Instagram. I'm working on my website, so because I have a whole bunch of new pictures, so I'm like, yeah, let's gotta clean
we
gotta clean house.
Clean it up, yeah.
So my Instagram handle is @champ.i.n, playing off the words champion, obviously.
Love it.
And yeah, just DM me and let me help you capture your amazing images.
Yes, please hire her, please. If anyone is watching.
12-year-old, please.
Yes, if it's not for her, for her 12-year-old,
Right.
please do it for that. But thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you guys next week.
Bye.
Woo!
Let's go.
Thank you.
Thank you.